Our third inductee for the evening, Steve Rondinaro. Steve's story began, like many who've entered the Drum Corps Hall of Fame, that is, as a marching member. From the age of 9 until the age of 21, Steve spent his years marching with the Watkins Glen Squires out of New York. I know, I kept them out of finals. I know. So after those years of marching, he co-managed and directed the Corps, and they nearly did make championship finals in 1975. Cultivating his career outside of Drum Corps, Steve enjoyed great success as a news reporter and news anchor. Steve's professional ability, along with knowledge of Drum Corps, led to a special blend of talent. He was perfect not only to host and be comfortable in front of the camera, but also to have a wealth of knowledge of the activity.
Welcome to the 1979 Drum Corps International Championships. Live from Legion Field in Birmingham, Alabama. Good evening. I'm your host, Jim Peck, and behind me and in the background, you can hear some of the corps that are already warming up in exhibition. And here with me to lend his expert commentary is Steve Rondinaro and, of course, jazz great Maynard Ferguson. Now, Steve is the manager of the Squires Drum and Bugle Corps from Watkins Glen, New York, and also a Drum Corps judge, which really gives you expertise. Steve?
A novice judge at that, Jim, but I'll tell you, I would not want to be one of those guys out there tonight determining the champion, because it's a pressure-packed atmosphere and the intensity is not equaled by anything else in Drum Corps. Going to be a whale of a night. And that panel of 12
I expect it to be terrific, and I'm looking forward to being entertained here tonight, because, of course, I don't get to see this as often as Steve does, and it should be very exciting, and I'm also very thrilled to be working with both of you guys.
Back with me again this year to lend his expert commentary is Steve Rondinaro. Steve, nice to work with you again.
It's good to be back here and back here with you.
And our very special guest, star of film, television, Broadway, Rita Moreno.
Hi, how are you? It's nice to be here.
What a pleasure, my dear.
Thank you.
Reliable Rondo himself, Steve Rondinaro, newscaster with WCKT in Miami, Florida. Steve, welcome back.
Good to be back, Jim. Good to be in Whitewater, and boy, oh boy, do we have a show tonight. And it's going to be a problem making those reliable predictions, because we have some tight scores.
But you are up to it.
Yes, the day started bright and early this
On
morning.
my left is a fellow whose music has become warmly embraced by many drum corps that competed here tonight, and it wasn't too many years ago that it seemed like every corps in the country was playing Chuck Mangioni's Children of Sanchez. Chuck, this is your first competition, right?
That's right. I'm thrilled to be here. You know, I'm getting goosebumps just listening to these people playing in the background.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kurt Gowdy. What's a sportscaster doing here? Well, this is a World Championship competition, and I've been a Drum and Bugle Corps fan for a long time. And working with me is Steve Rondinaro, a former Drum and Bugle Corps man himself, who's going to analyze this event for us. And Steve, we're into the final 6 for the championship, and it is very, very close.
Big night ahead, some great entertainment, a lot of different styles. 0.2 of a point separate the top 2 corps. Steve Rondinaro again doing the honors, joined by my compatriots, DCI's Dean of the Visual Arts, Michael Cesario, and the Doctor of Percussion, Dennis DeLucia. A great way to get started here tonight. Hello, everybody. Steve Rondinaro, glad to be your host. It's been my privilege to be in the DCI air chair for 33 of those 40 years, and it's always a special time here at Championships. I'm joined by... Well, Chuck Calhoun, Carl Isley, and Vern Alling started that little drum corps and gave us local kids an invaluable gift that would change lives. We grew up together, as did the Squires. Later, a wonderful couple named Bill and Jeanette Wickham kept it going and got us through what we lovingly refer to as our wonder years, when we went from dead last in New York State. We still remember the guy yelling, "Get him off the field," at the state championships in 1969, when we scored a 20.33. and getting off the field would have been a public service. But a bunch of brave and pig-headed adults believed in those kids, and we rose to become New York's dominant core, state champions, challenged for the DCI finalist spot in 1975, and we had a pretty good adventure together. Now, during those Squires days, DCI PR ace Don Whiteley, who became both a mentor and a thorn in my side, decided to take a chance on a freshly aged out corps director and a kid from Watkins Glen. Thanks to Whiteley, I did my first TV news live shot ever in my career in 1976 from the championships in Denver, when the sponsoring station sent a live truck out minus a reporter. Whiteley said they need somebody, go do it. Okay. So I did it. It wasn't a disaster. He asked me to do color and analysis for the regional broadcast of DCI East in Denver. And then the next year, another year in the minors, brought a chance to do DCI Canada in Hamilton. Used to love that show, going up there with those crazy Dentons and all those Canadian friends. And those guys were a trip. Well, then came the call up to the majors in '79. You saw Maynard. I can't tell you what a gigantic thrill that was. Number one, to be doing the show, and number two, to be stealing glimpses at Maynard's lip, trying to see if it had any superhuman qualities. How many of you remember when I gave him the two-valve soprano up in the stands and he started wailing on it? That got a little bit of attention. Well, this year marks 35 in the DCI air chair, and I will admit to still feeling like that kid from Watkins Glen, New York, on more times than not. So as the telecast has changed, so has my role. You've seen it. Somehow I've gone from the likes of Maynard, Rita Marino, Chuck Mangione, Kurt Gowdy, to Michael Cesario and Dennis DeLucia. Well, Michael took the easy way out, and instead of doing DCI TV, he started rewriting the scoring system and working with the judges. No hassle, no pressure there, but he left me to manage Dennis on my own. Well, Dennis has become one of my very best and most treasured friends, as the guy who runs our broadcast ship, Tom Blair. Wives, too. They're all at my table. In fact, Tammy has borrowed Kelly's dress tonight because the luggage didn't get here. That's how close we are. There we go. Their hearts are all drum corps through and through, and I couldn't ask for better friends. You know, drum corps is like that. You continue to forge lasting friendships long after you hang up the marching shoes. That's why someone's either going to have to put wheels or a motor on that DCI air chair to get me to the set when the time comes so I can do my job. You may even have to pry the mic out of my cold, stiff fingers. My wife will attest that nothing brings goosebumps like a lush, full horn line with sumptuous percussion driving it on, soft or loud. I'm putty in their hands. And more than anything, I'm a fan who loves this crazy activity that brings us together year after year, and the kids who do it. My hope is we can keep it alive and healthy for decades to come, for future generations, pushing and pulling together for the greater good of all. Thank you for granting me this honor. It's big time in my book. I truly feel blessed to be able to combine a profession I enjoy with an activity that I love. It doesn't get much better than being the guy in the DCI air chair. As for the week ahead, I expect this place to be electric. Let's make the most of it. Thanks.